You're watching The Business of Law, brought to you by Bloomberg Law and the ABA Journal. I'm Pacchia. These are tough times for law firms, and my guest today says that some are beginning to approach the edge. Joining me now is Kent Zimmermann, law firm consultant at the Zeughauser Group. Welcome back, Kent. Good to see you.
Thanks, Lee.
So, you were recently quoted in the Wall Street Journal as saying that warning bells often don't go off early enough for partners at failing firms. Is that still happening at any firms today?
It is, unfortunately, somewhat to our surprise. There was a stat that came out in a recent survey that we saw that was striking. And what it said was that when looking at 2013, managing partners were 80% of them optimistic or very optimistic about their firm's future this year and next year, but 20% weren't able to say that. Were not able to say they were optimistic to any degree about their firm's future.
They must not be watching this show.
that lines up with what we're seeing out there. We, since 2008, have seen about 10 to 20% of the AmLaw 200 badly weaken, some so weak that they may fail. There are a few firms that we have on our screen that we're worried about.
20 firms. I know we can't name names here, but what are some of the defining characteristics that they might share?
So the basic kind of overall concept is that firms that have too many attorneys for too little work typically have a problem they need to fix. And that's evidenced by what we would look at as a metric is low average hours. So just to give you a little more on that, when across the firm, in an AmLaw 200 firm, if average hours on a multi-year basis for 2 or more years are below 1,600 hours, that's cause for concern and cause for action. Another metric that we look at is realization, meaning the percent of the amount billed that the firm actually collects. When realization dips below 90% or so, that's cause for concern, because what that says is that the firm is writing off time or offering discounts, or in other words, the market doesn't want to pay the firm's rates. So those are troubling signs.
Interesting concept. Why do managing partners, I mean, we've been a couple of years into this recession in law. Why are managing partners, in your opinion, continuing to miss some of these warning signs?
You know, a lot of people who run businesses of all kinds, not just law firms, tend to be over-optimistic about their future, and there's a fair amount of that going on. When managing partners who understand the need to cut under productivity, to cut underperforming offices, practices, industries, even when they get it, sometimes in law firms, it's politically difficult to build consensus within the partnership to make needed cuts. However, what we see is many firms in the industry growing smaller in order to get financially stronger. Many firms have done that recently, many strong firms with very strong brands. And so, although it's perceived by some partners and some firms as a weakness, it's actually a strength when a firm grows smaller to get financially stronger. More and more firms are doing that, and more still need to.
Layoffs are a good thing in that sense.
Layoffs can be a very good thing for the firm's financial strength, no question about it, particularly when the layoffs involve underperforming, chronically underperforming attorneys, practices, or offices. That underperformance is simply a drag on the financial profitability and other performance metrics of the firm. And so if you want to be financially stronger, you need to cut that drag out.
Okay, so as we said before, law is in a recession, has been for a while, but coming out of the recession, it's supposedly going to end at some point. There are presumptively going to be winners in the big law space. Who are they going to be?
That's a great question. So as with any recession, the firms that went into the recession stronger are going to come out stronger. And when I say going into the recession stronger, I mean firms that were tightly managed, that had high hours expectations, that stuck to higher rate practices and had high realization, that built known for go-to status in their core areas of strength. Those firms come out of the recession stronger. Firms that went into the recession weaker, firms that didn't right size in order to cut under productivity, firms that didn't build known for strength in high rate areas, those firms are going to come out of the recession weaker, as you would expect, and there's unfortunately many of those.
What else are you hearing about the market from managing partners and chairs?
You know, 2013 and 2014 are going to be anxiety-ridden years for many law firms. The second half of the AmLaw 100, perhaps even the second 75 of the AmLaw 100, they need to make a choice whether they're going to get into that top group and fight to grow their financial performance. And fighting means having high hours expectations, migrating to high rate practices, cutting out low-rate practices, demanding from laterals and others at the firm large books of business, building known-for status in high-rate areas. Doing those things will allow some firms to get into the elite tier of the strongest performing financial firms. Many others, though, for whatever reason, won't be able to do that. That's going to be a problem. You know, another stat that I saw recently in a survey of managing partners was that a whopping 23% of AmLaw 200 managing partners plan to do capital calls, raise additional capital from their partners this year. And
what was that number again? Capital calls? This is an important thing to drill down on people.
23% of firms in this survey expected to do new capital calls from their partners this year. That speaks loudly to us and is indicative at those firms of a need to raise additional capital from the partners to bolster the firm's financial strength.
Right.
That's
if you don't do that ahead of time, oftentimes you have to do it in a bankruptcy proceeding. Being a big law partner these days could be a rather expensive proposition. And
it has for many. You know, there's some people who went through multiple law firm failures and lost their capital at each of those firms. There are some people who were at Howry, at Dewey, at other firms that failed. Some were unlucky enough to be at multiple firms like that. And so, of course, you want to avoid that by getting the firm as financially strong as possible.
You said that 2013 and 2014 are both going to be anxiety-producing years for big law firms. That puts us at 6-7 years of this law firm recession. I can't imagine anyone you speak to has ever seen anything like this. Does anyone claim to?
No, you don't see a lot of people talking about this as if it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal, especially because we're in an industry that for 17 straight years, going up to 2008, had average profits per equity partner and revenue per lawyer going up and up and up every single year. And then 2008 hit, Lehman Brothers fell, and all of a sudden, this industry saw what it's like to be in a challenged economic period. What I would say is many law firms are coming to the conclusion that they can no longer succeed in spite of themselves, which is what many firms were able to do for a very long time. Now firms are realizing they need to develop a consensus within their firms about what their vision is for the future, what their strategy is to achieve that vision, how they need to build known-for go-to practices that'll get shortlisted for highly sought-after work, and firms are really having to work much harder at developing preeminence. Some were able to do that without really trying in the past, and that's really not the case for many firms anymore.
All right, well, Kent, interesting stuff. Thanks for stopping by and talking to us.
You bet.
That's Kent Zimmermann, consultant at the Zeughauser Group. If you'd like to learn more about the issues we just discussed, be sure to go check out our offerings on BloombergLaw.com and also on the Bloomberg Terminal. You can see more of our videos on YouTube, and you can follow our updates on Twitter. I'm Pacchia. Thanks for watching.